Good morning. It is a fine Saturday morning here in Toronto, and this is Toronto Stevie Live with the Smackdown summary. First of all, I my wife wanted to spend some time with me last night, so I could not get on the In Your Head Wrestling Radio. Sorry, I couldn't make it. But there was some wrestling news. I'm not sure. Maybe I'll watch the show later and see if they talked about some of the wrestling news, particularly what's going on, what the hell is going on in TNA wrestling. But let's get to SmackDown. SmackDown featured, came to you from Kansas City, Missouri. They said this was where Ric Flair beat Dusty Rhodes for the NWA World Heavyweight title. And I think that was his first, Ric Flair's first championship win. He basically, Dusty picked him up and his knee gave out and Flair fell on him and pinned him 1, 2, 3 to win the title. I think that was the finish of that match in Kansas City. But, so they announced that they had the superstar arrivals and, they started off the show with the rematch of the undisputed WWE Championship. Of course, you had Cody Rhodes taking on Gunther, and per Gunther's request, he wanted Sami Zayn as the special guest referee. So Sami comes out first, and the crowds, well, they're booing him. He's kind of this in-between heel. Sometimes he's heel, sometimes he's a face. Kind of not really sure the direction of where this is going or whether this is even a good idea. But nonetheless, Sami comes out. He's got this referee shirt on, and then out comes Gunther and Cody Rhodes. And the SmackDown ring announcer tonight is, I think it was Mike Rome. I think that's his name. Does the introductions. He introduces Sami first, and then Gunther, and then Cody Rhodes, and then they have the match. And Gunther, and this was like both Cody Rhodes and Gunther were going for the sleeper hold, trying to put the other two to sleep. Cody would go for his cutter moves, but Gunther would get out of them. I think he would also come back with a sleeper hold. And eventually, I think Gunther, at one point, Gunther tried to put the figure 4 leg lock on Cody Rhodes, and referee Sami Zayn would check him to see if he wanted to tap out. But Cody managed to get to the ropes, and so referee Sami Zayn had no choice but to tell Gunther to break the hold. Both Cody Rhodes and Gunther would argue with Sami Zayn as a referee. And at one point, Cody got the crossroads on Gunther and tried to make the cover. But this time around, Gunther did put his foot under the ropes, and referee Sami Zayn saw that and basically stopped the count. And then the match continued. Gunther thought he was like gonna win the title, but then eventually he started arguing with Sami Zayn. I think just on a simple rope break, and started shoving Sami Zayn. And Sami Zayn responded by slapping Gunther in the face, and Gunther responded by power bombing the referee Sami Zayn, which should have resulted in a disqualification immediately, whether Sami Zayn called for it or not. But instead, I think Gunther went for a power bomb and tried to pin Cody Rhodes, and another referee came out, but he started making the count. But then Sami Zayn recovered, pulled the second referee out of the ring, and basically Cody Rhodes and Gunther kept fighting, and eventually they wound up in the corner, and I think Gunther had Cody in the sleeper again, But then Sami Zayn basically hit a haluva kick on Gunther, and then when Cody went for the pinfall, um, um, Sami Zayn fast counted Gunther's shoulders to the mat 1, 2, 3 very quickly and declared Cody Rhodes the winner of the match. So this naturally infuriated Gunther. He went to the back and complained to Nick Aldis about this fast count. He was yelling with Sami Zayn. Meanwhile, in the ring, Cody Rhodes saw the replay and got on a microphone and basically said, let's restart the match. And backstage, Gunther was all for this as well. And he basically beat up Sami Zayn and ran back into the ring. And I think I probably got this wrong. He the haluva kick didn't come until afterwards. I'm in such a hurry here. So Sami did fast count Gunther, but it was when the match restarted that Gunther got Cody into the sleeper hold, and Sami hit the haluva kick, and immediately Cody loses the match by disqualification, but he keeps the title since the title can't change hands on a disqualification. And still, I think Sami knocked out the second referee with a punch, grabbed the WWE title, and then whacked Cody Rhodes in the face with the title. So basically, the match ends with both Cody Rhodes and Gunther laid out and Sami holding the WWE title, and basically creates a headache for Nick Aldis. What is he going to do? So backstage, you had Jade Cargill and her girls. They cut this backstage promo saying that Rhea Ripley had been re-injured, and she's cutting this promo on Tiffany Stratton, and she's basically challenging Tiffany Stratton for the women's, I think it's the U.S. title. Can't remember what title is on SmackDown, but nonetheless, we go back from the commercial break. Coming back from the commercial break, they keep going back, showing replays of the finish of the Cody Rhodes Gunther match. And basically, Gunther yells at Nick Aldis, basically saying he wants another match at Night of Champions. So Nick Aldis has has to figure out what to do. So there's a replay of last week's King of the Ring qualifying match, and basically afterwards, Solo Sikoa is confronted by Jacob Fatu, and he basically says he's got orders from Roman Reigns to make sure nobody gets involved in Jey Uso's match. And he looks at Solo Sikoa and says, you're running out of time and you need to make a decision. And this, of course, refers to Roman wanting Solo back in the bloodline. So, like, I'm so tired of this bloodline storyline that I really could care less about it. I still could care less about whether Solo joins the bloodline or not. I really don't think he should. I kind of getting around to what Nasty Meal has been saying about the bloodline, especially about Solo Sikoa. He clearly is a second-tier guy, and really no need to involve him in this. So right before the commercial break, it's announced that there's going to be a WWE Tag Team title match. The MFT is getting the title shot. So coming back from the commercial break, there's another Blake Monroe vignette. This time she's talking about Julia. And so, like, really don't know. First of all, we don't know when she's debuting and who she's debuting against. It could be Charlotte Flair. It could be Julia. Who knows? Talatonga and Tama Tonga make their way to the ring, and we get the WWE Tag Team Championship match. R-Truth and Damian Priest defending against the MFTs. And this was like, it's almost like these matches kind of go the same. Damian Priest keeps trying to hit his big moves. R-Truth does the John Cena moves, the 5-knuckle shuffle, and he tried to go for the FU, but one of the Tama Tonga? One of the Tongas got out of it right after the commercial break. I think that's when Solo Sikoa came out, and the Tongas got distracted by Solo, and this allowed R-Truth to get the roll up and pin one of the Tongas along the champions to retain the title. Afterwards, both Tama Tonga and Tala Tonga were upset with Solo Sikoa. So, like, I don't know, like I said, whether Solo is going to Raw and they're just leaving him, leaving the Tongas on SmackDown, or what's going to happen. And quite frankly, I don't care. Like, coming back from the commercial break, this is where we had Jey Uso and Javon Evans had a stare down. Elsewhere, you had Carmelo Hayes backstage and Ricky Saints. And this is when we head into the number one contenders match for the U.S. title. It's Carmelo Hayes versus Ricky Saints, with the winner of the match getting a U.S. title shot against Trick Williams. Surprisingly, Trick Williams wasn't on the show tonight. He's probably going to be on next week, the day before the show, or the week before the show. So it was Ricky Saints and Carmelo Hayes. This is about the third or fourth match. I can't remember. Maybe the fourth match, because one of them ended in a double count out. You had him going back and forth, and it was Ricky Saints who actually got the win. A good win for Ricky Saints. So he'll get the title shot against Carmelo, against Trick Williams. So maybe this mini feud is over and Carmelo Hayes will go on somewhere else. There's video of the New York Knicks celebrating their championship win in the NBA, and Danhausen releasing the curse. And then you had a backstage segment where where Danhausen, The Miz, and Kit Wilson doing some sort of almost Frankenstein-like thing. And then they're interrupted. They're interrupted by the Garzas, I think, and Matt Cardona. This was the backstage segment. There's another one with R-Truth, Finn Balor, and Damian Priest. And then after the commercial break, they announced that there's going to be an undisputed WWE Championship match at Night of Champions, but it's going to be a triple threat. It's going to be Cody Rhodes versus Gunther versus Sami Zayn. So I'm not sure. The wildest thing they could do is put the title on Sami Zayn. That would certainly be something different. I'd be all in favor of that if they decided to do that. But we go into the main event. Jey Uso versus Javon Evans. The winner faces Oba Femi at Night of Champions for the King of the Ring. And this one was pretty good. You had basically two supposed baby faces who have been acting like heels recently, facing each other. Javon would try to hit the OG cutter, but Jey Uso would stop him. And eventually, though, both of them would go for super kicks, back and forth, near fall after near fall. But eventually, Jey Uso got a spear, and Javon was selling like bruised ribs, I guess because on Raw he got speared by Braun Breaker, so he had his ribs taped. Jey Uso ripped his T-shirt off and exposed the tape on Javon Evans' ribs, and he eventually hit a spear on Javon Evans, went to the top rope, landed the Uso splash, and pinned him 1, 2, 3. So Jey Uso does advance to the King of the Ring. Final match against Oba Femi. And so, like, I really hope that WWE doesn't fuck this up. They don't give the win and the title shot to Jey Uso. Oba Femi, you could probably argue it's too early for Oba Femi, that he shouldn't get the title shot this quickly. But I really think you've got a rocket strapped to Oba Femi, and you need to strike while the iron is hot. That's why I would have Oba Femi defeat Jey Uso, become the King of the Ring, and get the title shot. And it could be against Roman Reigns. It could be against Cody Rhodes. You could always, you don't necessarily have to. It doesn't necessarily have to be against the Raw champion Roman Reigns. You could have him take on Cody Rhodes and have a rematch against Cody Rhodes. So there's a couple of ways to go here about what you could do. Backstage, the show ends with Jacob Fatu confronting Solo Sikoa and said, Solo basically telling Jacob, Roman had you come here to get involved in my business. Anyway, this was a 3-hour, one of those 3-hour SmackDown. So this wasn't the main event. I thought it was the main event. I wasn't even watching the clock. And when we got these vignettes, with Tiffany Stratton basically getting a challenge for her title at Night of Champions, I thought, wait a minute, the show's over. And my stupid mistake, no, it wasn't. Because that wasn't the main event. Because then we had Liv Morgan in the Queen of the Ring final. So there was like backstage segment after backstage segment after backstage segment, just kind of filling time. And I was wondering, I wanted to fast forward through all of this stuff, because it was just like WCW circuit, late 90s, the Vince Russo era. You had Liv Morgan and the women's tag team champions were on, I think, briefly, and then Fatal Influence had a backstage segment, and then I think Cody Rhodes and Jey Uso had a backstage segment. I was kind of tuning out after this, but nonetheless, they did announce, I think, the card for Night of Champions. Triple threat: Cody Rhodes versus Gunther and Sami Zayn. The steel cage match: Seth Rollins versus Braun Breaker. The women's U.S. title match: Tiffany Stratton against Jade Cargill. And the Queen of the Ring final match: Io Sky versus Liv Morgan or Charlotte Flair. And so then, right before the Queen of the Ring qualifying match, or the final match, Charlotte Flair is attacked by Jade Cargill, Mia Yim, and B-Fab, and they basically hurt her left knee. I don't know if Charlotte's injured in real life or whether this was just an angle, but nonetheless, Nick Aldis and some officials are basically trying to convince Charlotte not to go through with the match, but Charlotte makes her way down to the ring and basically gets in the ring, and the match starts. So the story of the match was that Liv Morgan was working on Charlotte Flair's left leg and her knee, and Charlotte was basically trying to wrestle on one leg, and she even tried to go for the figure four, but I think Liv reversed it, and then Charlotte had to break the hold. Liv tried to go for the Oblivion, but Charlotte was able to fight her off. And eventually, Liv got a half Boston Crab on Charlotte Flair and was yanking back on her left leg, putting pressure on the knee. Charlotte bravely fought off it once, but then Liv reapplied it, yanked back on it again. And this time, Charlotte Flair had no choice but to tap out. So Liv Morgan advances to the final against Io Sky. And like I said earlier, if Liv wins the title and goes on to be a double champion, whether or not Rhea Ripley is, healthy or not, I'm not all that. I'm not all that concerned. If Liv becomes a double champion, then she'll appear on both shows and defend it against everybody. So that was SmackDown. It was okay. It was a good show. Really, the only glaring thing about it probably was the fact that they had so much filler backstage segments and things like that. That I was kind of wondering, like, you've got so many people on the roster, and you've got mid-carders and jobbers, and you could easily fill a lot of that time with another match instead of all these backstage segments. But I wanted to get into, and if I had been on In Your Head Wrestling Radio last night, I would have gotten into this. And that was the releases from TNA Wrestling, because there had been some recent releases, people leaving that. I'll probably have to put my glasses on. Here we go. TNA releases talent. So the talents that have left TNA Wrestling recently, the most glaring one, Dreamer. So Tommy Dreamer, booking TNA Wrestling as a booker, posted a video, very emotional video, in which he announced that he and TNA Wrestling he was no longer working for TNA Wrestling. So that one was surprising, because he was, so firmly associated with TNA Wrestling for years that it was kind of surprising that they were getting rid of him. Another one who posted a video actually was Tessa Blanchard, who I was giving praise to Tessa in her Impact Wrestling matches because I thought they were really good, and but apparently TNA Wrestling told her that they didn't want her to work in Mexico. They wanted her to work exclusively for TNA Wrestling, but she wanted to go to CMLL in Mexico. And so eventually she had to make a decision, one or the other, and she chose CMLL. So Tessa Blanchard is gone. Another one who's gone is Steve Macklin. I think he was a U.S. Army veteran. He's gone. And Sami Callihan. Now, I was never a fan of Sami Callihan, I got to tell you. Never a fan of him at all. But he is apparently gone from TNA Wrestling as well. It does seem that maybe one of the reasons why a lot of these talents are leaving could be financial. TNA Wrestling has always been, even though they've had some, um, you know, very wealthy owners, the Carter family, and then Anthem Sports and Entertainment, um, always had money behind them, but nonetheless, their TV deal is very weak, not worth paltry amount compared to WWE's TV deal, and so they're not. They're probably looking for ways to cut costs, which is pretty sad. If you watch their show, their television show, and then the small buildings that they're working in, and realize, with the exception of maybe a short period of time, um, 20 years ago, 10 years ago, um, that TNA Wrestling has always been kind of like very second tier, nowhere near the other promotions. Even AEW was quick to jump over them and become the number 2 promotion in North America. And so it's pretty sad to watch, actually. But that was the major thing. I think that was, I'm just trying to see, was there anybody else? Tommy Dreamer? Yeah. Tessa Blanchard. I think those were the major ones that got removed. So, so like and subscribe. This is it for Toronto Stevie Live. Like and subscribe to my channel. Thank you very much for watching, and hopefully I'll get the Raw report on next Monday or Tuesday night. And that's all for me. Have a good weekend, and I am out of here. Bye-bye, everybody.